A very good evening to you. Welcome back to Wetzikon in Switzerland. We're at the ZO Women's International Tournament. It's the 21st time that this competition has taken place in Wetzikon. And you're joining us live from the curling hall, just half an hour's drive south of Zurich. My name is Brian Gray, and in the commentary box with me this evening, I'm very pleased to welcome back former Swiss international curler Nicole Strauzak. Good evening, Nicole.
Good evening, Brian, and hello from my side. We're going to feature the game between Team Sidorova-Feltscher, they're playing with the Yellow Rocks, against Team Anna Sidorova from Russia. This is a game still from the qualification phase that we're going to feature from the Group B. Actually, we have 22 teams competing in that Curling Champions Tour event. The qualification phase is played in 4 groups, and within the group a round robin is being played.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, if I look down the team list, this is a team that you know very well, Nicole. You've actually been coaching them on and off the last year and a half, 2 years, is that right?
I had the pleasure to coach the team end of last season. I was with them at the Swiss Championships in Gstaad and supporting them there. And just point by point, when there is a chance, I try to support a bit. Yes, that's right. So here we see Franzi playing her second rock in that first end. Team Feltscher are having the hammer, so they have the last rock advantage in that first end.
And the skipper of this team, of course, Binia Bili, no stranger to international competition, played several seasons with Miriam Ott, skipped also herself at 1 or 2 World Championships. How do you think they'll approach this on-form Russian team tonight?
Yeah, these two teams, they have been facing each other already a few times. Actually, both of the teams have been competing in the last year's European Championships in Moscow. In the round-robin game, Team Sidorova was beating Team Feltscher. And the teams have also faced each other at another Curling Champions Tour event this season in Basel. They played the quarterfinals against each other. Also Team Sidorova having the better end in that game. So actually this game is a bit special because when we take a close look at the ranking within this group, we see that both teams actually have already qualified for the quarterfinals for tomorrow. Team Sidorova, they have won all their games so far. Team Feltscher 2 out of 3. And as it looks in that group, We can see already, because Team Feltscher are having a very good draw shot challenge, they can't be overtaken by either Team Jacobi or Team Malmi, even though both of these teams can also end up on full points. So Team Feltscher, even with a loss in that game, they would also already be qualified for tomorrow's quarterfinal, just as Anna Sidorova.
Achtung! Fisch! Fisch! Alles! Kommen! Zier! Fisch! 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 Bitte!
That's right, Nicole. That's the situation in this Group B.
En dan nu een checks, hè? Nu een 5.
We get a look at this Russian team. Very experienced team, of course. Been on the international circuit several seasons now. Anna Sidorova, the skip. And here we see Privikova, also has skipped the team in the past. Very experienced team altogether. Played a number of competitions.
Пока зайти конец. Возможно, сядет. Пока сам совсем. Конец. Сам совсем. Садится.
So I think we can expect from them pretty solid performance generally. Russia curling these days in changed hands. Things changed there a few months back and seems to be for the better. They've got some good qualified coaches in place and they're developing teams. I also saw Victoria Moiseva earlier. She's also playing in this competition, a younger Russian team. And they've been supported by Anders Kraup, who I think is doing a pretty good job when I see that team playing this afternoon. And this Russian team, of course, coached by national coach Thomas Lips from Switzerland. So Russia certainly investing in the last year or so, making a few changes, getting the right people in the right places, and I expect that over the next 2 or 3 seasons we'll see a big improvement in Russian curling. I certainly hope so. It's good for curling when Russia are good. It's a very interesting country and it's fantastic that the Winter Olympics will take place there in just over a year from now. As we see a very nice come around from Irene Shuri. That is Katerina Galkina on the left.
Yeah, that
Margarita
shot,
Fomina on the right.
that shot gives something to think about for the Russian backhand.
So what are the options here? Well, the main question here is what weight you want to play. Basically, without the hammer, Russia should be looking to remove that yellow. The only question is, do you play a hack and try and catch half of it? Or do you play a full strike and just try to clip maybe 2 or 3 centimeters off it? She can see a little, as they're discussing now.
Давай попробуем, уберем. Давай уберем.
Да, сильно просто я сделаю, если что, попадем. Я не уверена, что вести хороший дейтаж, да, мы не знаем, на серии наугад. Можно было, конечно, попробовать, но...
Brian, what do you think? Is that the ice for maybe even a race?
I'm thinking it probably is, Nicole. It's certainly too little ice to play the direct hit unless they're expecting a fallout, which I don't think that's going to happen on this ice surface in Wetzikon. So it looks like they're running the blue rock back. So just a spot wide at the moment. But it seems to have taken off, as you see in the expression, but she's played it beautifully. And look at that, even stayed in play. What a cracking shot from Anna Sidorova in this first end. That's like a 5-meter run back. So to give you an idea, if you don't play curling, that's about 5 meters between the stone she hit and and the stone that then removed the stone from play. There you see, are approximately 5 meters. So accuracy on the front rock is probably 2 or 3 millimeters, which makes that a very, very tough play shot, and she's played it like it's an open hit.
Very well executed, also very well judged from the Y-skip concerning the line and the sweeping call. Just perfect.
And those shots really only possible with excellent technique. You need to be throwing very straight to do that, because it's not something that if there's any angle at all on your release, you're not going to make those shots very often, because it is really 2 or 3 millimeters accuracy on the front rock. But if you've got solid technique like Anna Sidorova does, then you can play those shots. And now Binia we see coming beautifully past that guard, and she might even just tuck in a little bit. She has done. That's a beauty. So we're seeing already in this first end some world-class shot making from both teams.
That was also a very nicely executed rock. It was really played with a controlled weight, so just enough to pass the guard and even curl a little bit to make a roll to the inside, which leaves Anna Sidorova with a slightly harder takeout than Binia just played with her rock.
And now she thinks she can see enough of it. She doesn't need to stay. She wants to blank this end now, or at least make sure that the other team doesn't get 2. So she's just going to catch a little bit of the yellow stone. She doesn't really care about staying in the rings. And then we'll probably see Wetzikon blank the end. So Anna Sidorova with her last stone in this first end. Probably going to play a controlled or a normal stick out and just try to clip about 1/4 of the yellow stone that she can see around that guard. There you see very stable, very solid technique. And that's beautifully played again. So already in this first end, we're seeing some excellent curling. As I said before, not possible really to remove that stone and stay in play, but she's accepting basically a blank end. So some very nice curling, what we like to see. This event, of course, part of the Curling Champions Tour, which is a series of events, women, men and juniors. And the goal of the tour is to promote curling and to improve curling, so that as many as people can watch curling like this, see top quality games, and for that reason it's great to be here and watch these games live and see really world-class curling in a curling hall in Switzerland.
That's right, we have a total of 6 ladies competition on the Curling Champions Tour this season. This is the 4th one. And Anna Sidorova actually is leading the ranking of the Curling Champions Tour so far. So as we expected, Binia was playing through with her last rock to blank the end and take on the hammer to the second end of this last round robin game.
As we see Katerina Galkina, lead of the Russian team. Being asked to play what appears to be a closed centre guard. Other option would to be play top 4 in that situation. But Russia want to take the game to the Swiss. And by that I mean Russia have tended for a slightly aggressive opening to the second end. They're playing a guard, which the Swiss cannot remove. And that forces Switzerland into a more aggressive start to this end as well. So here we see Christine Urach. Someone that both Nicole and I know very well. Christina's been playing a few seasons, really beginning to perform well and fitting into this team really nicely. And that is perfect curling. If you wanted to be a little bit critical, perhaps just a little bit too deep, the team with the hammer, which is Swiss, would like maybe it to be just 20-30 meters shorter so they stay away from the 4-foot circle. That allows Russia to play a freeze. And that's a really nice shot as well. So both leads here, 100% so far in this end. And already this end's getting quite complicated. Christina being asked now to over curl that blue, maybe just nudge it slightly to the left, or at least freeze on it. So this is a tough shot. Margin of error really quite small.
That was not the result they were hoping for. The stone just executed too short, staying quite wide like that, because the curl on this sheet is also actually quite late. So that gives the chance for the Russian team to just push up their own rock onto the shot rock.
And that's exactly the reason why the Russians played that shot before, so that they can do that. And now the Russians really with one half miss by the Swiss. Now the Russians are already in a pretty good situation in this second end.
So Binia changing the end plan, as it didn't quite work out at the start, opening up the center, staying as a corner guard. That's always nice, can be used later in the end, just to give them a chance to get onto that shot rock later in the end.
The one issue that maybe Binia will have with that corner guard is actually blocking the dolly draw on the in hand. It's so long, that guard that Christine played before. With it being so long, it's blocking the dolly draw, that guard there. So Binia needs to be aware of that and watch that she doesn't get shut out completely from having a shot somewhere. But fortunately for her, the Russians have just under-curled a bit. They had to sweep that every last millimetre and try and bring it onto the centre line. Unfortunately, from the Swiss perspective, they haven't done that, so it allows Binia now to get rid of that rather dangerous shot at the top of the 4-foot, which could easily be a steal for the Russians if they don't remove it.
So Franziska Kaufmann trying to remove that Russian rock and roll to the side. He just rolled a bit too far.
But a very nice shot, Nicole. She's in shot position. She forces Russia away from the centre. It's not open either. It's
Absolutely
not so easy. Needs to be an accurate takeout from Ludmilla. I'm sorry. She needs to just avoid her own stone. Come down, touch that yellow, and if possible, maybe roll in towards the centre.
they have the roll, but also rolling a bit too far, just into the open. That gives the Swiss team another chance to attack that stone in the back forefoot. They have two choices, either rolling behind the corner guard or behind the center guard. I think it's a good call to aim for the roll behind the corner guard as they're having the hammer in that end.
Absolutely, rolling away from the centre just gives them more space to get those 2 points that the Swiss would want with the hammer. As it is, it's just not going to curl quite enough. But the Swiss won't be upset with this end now. It looked a little bit tricky a couple of stones back, but now it's not too bad. They have lots of chances. They have 3 guards to play with there. They need to find a way of getting a stone fully hidden behind one of them. And that's a beautiful shot. Ludmila just touching that stone perfectly, rolling a few centimetres to the left as we look. It's not fully hidden, but it's giving the Swiss some problems now. Now they're forced to hit the right hand of that stone as we see. And they would now like to roll either behind the blue centre guard or, who knows, even all the way over to the other side of the sheet, behind that other yellow. And there we saw almost what I was talking about, but it's just rolled out. And that has the consequence that Russia can now play a free draw round the centre guard, with a chance then to put some pressure on the Swiss skip there.
So here is Anna Sidorova coming up with her first rock in the second end. A come around behind the center guard, probably in the forefoot or top forefoot would be the goal. So the team is really discussing the line and the weight that needs to be played on that line. Very important role from the front end here to give the skip the right indication on which weight is to be expected on that line.
So Anna Sidorova, first stone in the second end. Out turn, come around, top 4. Top of the blue circle is what she wants. Over T, so just a spot longer than it should be. But it looks to be nicely buried, so it's pretty nice, that stone. It's fully hidden behind that guard, I think. Well, there's a little bit sticking out. If there's a little bit sticking out, I'd expect Binia to chip that blue and roll maybe behind the yellow guard that we spoke about before and create her 2 points that way.
Yeah, I guess with the ice that is indicating it's going to be a slower weight, maybe just back 8 foot weight. And I mean, the guard is quite a long guard, so when you pass the guard, you still have a long way to curl and maybe just fully cover behind that guard.
As you say, Nicole, Binia taking a lot of ice, so this will tend to be maybe back line. 3-4 they're indicating, so that's like back of the 8 foot, back of the white circle. Now I hear T-line. T-line lands, so it's slowed down. And unfortunately, Didn't achieve what she was looking for. Maybe just a little bit shorter than the length it should have been. Whatever the reason, it now gives Anna Sidorova a chance to play a guard. She just said she doesn't want to be anywhere near the ring, so nice and safely away from the top of the 12-foot. They're really pushing on the brushes at the end to try and make it curl. And that's a very nice looking shot, I think. There's no hole there. So pretty much a perfect guard, I think.
At least the hole is there to come into the dolly with the last rock. For Team Switzerland, there is a port where Binja can try and place a rock fully in the 4-foot to score 1 point in that second end.
So this is a pretty tough shot. Everything needs to be right here. Weight is critical, that it's not long, otherwise it will jam on the outside guard. So last rock of the second. Sweeper's indicating T-line. Direction looks good as well, so all sounds perfect if it's there.
The line is very good. The question is, is it long enough? Can they take it all the way? And it's just a bit too short. At least it's second shot, so it's going to be a steal of 1 for Team Russia in that second end. And the score 1-0. Going into the third end, Team Feltscher again with the hammer.
So we take a look at the teams playing on this featured game this evening. It's a Group B qualification game. As we've mentioned, both teams already into the next stage of the competition, but we'll take a look at the two teams on the ice right now. So representing Team Russia, it's Katerina Galinka. It's actually Galkina. And she is 24 years old. And as you see, quite significant success. Europeans 2006, they won. Margarita Fomina, World Junior Champion in 2006, and also in that team that beat Italy in the final of the 2006 European Championships. Ludmila Privikova, who also used to skip that team. Again, Europeans winner 2006 and World Junior medalist, 26-year-old. And the skip, the youngster in the team with an idol of Kevin Martin, it's Anna Sidorova. And fifth player not on the ice tonight is Sek Nikuruka. I'm hoping I said that correctly, and she was also in that team. So 4 players from the 2006 gold medal performance, the one and only time that Russia won the Europeans. And if you want to check out that team, you can go to curlingrussia.ru. That's the official federation page. And you can find some information in English and Russian about Team Sidorova.
And the Swiss team playing out of Curling Club Flims. Christine Urech playing lead. She's 28 years old, a product designer living in Lucerne these days. Franziska Kaufmann playing second. She's 24 years old and living up in the mountains in the nice Grindelwald area. Irene Shori, she's new in the team since this season. She's playing third and wide skipping. Also quite a successful player herself. She was 2 times mixed double world champion. And Sidorova-Feltscher Bailey playing fourth and skip. She's a mother of 2 sweet children, 34 years old. And her major success was the silver medal at the Olympics in Torino in Team Miriam Ott. They also have a team website, flimsrepower.ch. And the team played the European Championship together last season in Moscow. At that time, still Marlene Albrecht in the team. Marlene and Irene, they actually just switched the teams on the third position. Marlene now playing with Silvana Tirinzoni, and Irene coming from Team Tirinzoni, playing now with Team Flims.
So if you've just joined us, we are live from Wetzikon in Switzerland. This is the Curling Champions Tour. It's the 21st ZO Women's International event. We're at the group stages still, and we're watching a game between Anna Sidorova of Russia and Sidorova-Feltscher of Switzerland. Both teams actually have qualified for the next stages already. And at the microphone this evening, it's Brian Gray, and alongside me, Nicole Strauzak. We're bringing you more curling this weekend. In fact, later tonight at 8 p.m, we have a gentleman who's sitting alongside us, Mark Stehley, is going to make his debut for us on Leola 1. So we look forward to seeing you here, Mark. That's at 8 o'clock. There's going to be the last of the qualification games. And then at some godly hour tomorrow morning, Mark will be back with Renato Hechler. And those guys will be doing the first of the qualification game, the playoff games tomorrow morning.
That will be at 8:30 in the morning, so that you can make your plans for tomorrow Sunday. The semi-final will be at 11:30 and the final game at 2:30 Central European time.
Now, if you didn't listen to our webcast this morning, you won't know that there's actually a prize up for grabs today. We're giving away a weekly pass for the whole of the Women's World Curling Championships in Riga. It's a ticket for all the games, so 11 round-robin games, tiebreakers, playoffs, and the final. Very nice prize indeed. And all you have to do is send an email before 6:30, so you have 47 minutes left to send us an email with the answer to the following question. And because it's in Latvia, it's a question about Latvian women's curling. In which city did Latvia women win their first game at a World Women's Curling Championships? In which city did Latvia win their first game at a World Women's Curling Championships? If you know the answer, the email's on the screen. It's live at curlingchampionstour.org. Closing time is 6:30. And then we're going to make a draw right here live on Leola 1. So at 7 o'clock you'll know if you've got that ticket. It's a very nice prize. And you can go and watch some of the best teams in the world. 12 teams, of course, heading to Riga from the 16th to the 24th of March, Riga in Latvia. That's the first time the Women's Worlds will be held in the Baltic region. So a really nice prize. Thanks to the Latvian Association and Robert Burzniks for giving us that prize. Robert Burzniks is the General Secretary. He's working away hard making that event happen in March. So thanks to you, Roberts, if you're listening. And we'll be drawing that prize very soon. So get your emails in. You've got just 45 minutes left to get your emails in. And we'll be drawing the prize shortly after that.
And maybe as a bonus question, you can answer by who Team Latvia was coached in that year. That shouldn't be so difficult to answer. And Brian, maybe you can tell us, are you going to have a role as well during the next World Championship in Riga?
That's a good question, Nicole. I don't know. I'm currently working a little bit with the ladies' team. It's Iveta Stasha Sarsune, who is the team who's qualified to go to the World Championships. Latvia, of course, as the host nation, are the only team who know for sure they get to go to the Worlds in Latvia. So they are pre-qualified as host nation, and I am working with Iveta and her team. It's a team that I've worked with on and off for a few years, and hopefully, all being well, I'll also be working with them at the Worlds in Riga. But step by step at the moment, we're just getting those girls prepared, and we were off to Canada for 2 weeks in October for quite a successful training trip, and we'll do something similar at the end of January for those ladies as well.
So as we're speaking, we're down at Skips Rocks already in that third end. Anna Sidorova just tried a double takeout and missing it just by a bit. It's hard to see at the moment, but there's a yellow Swiss rock laying at the back of the 12-foot, still counting. So Binia can choose now where she wants to put a second stone in the rings, with the goal to make a double takeout as possible, as difficult as possible for the Russian ladies.
Ja, bis 14. 14 ist sicher.
Schon mehr hier. 14,2. Sehr schön. Okay. Schön. Sehr schön. Super. 13,9. Schön.
Also 14,5.
Nicely played.
Ja, 14,3. Aber 14 habe ich schon gelernt.
Ja, das ist halt eine andere Spur für jetzt gegen uns.
Ja.
Aber gegen immer. Двойной тоже непросто. Можно, конечно.
The Russian ladies now having two options, either going for the full double takeout, hitting that just played stone from Binia on the outside, on the left side, and trying to catch the yellow stone in the back rings, or she could also hit the shot rock on the right side and just roll into the middle, basically on the center line in front of the second shot of Team Switzerland.
And the reason that would be good, of course, Nicole, is if you put your blue stone in front of the yellow somewhere on the centre line, then Binia has to catch off centre to not touch the back one, and by doing that you might force her to then roll out, and she only gets 1 point. So that's the reason you'd want to roll in front of the yellow. Just to hit this on the nose doesn't really help much, because then Binia would have a straight hit for 2 points. But it looks like the first priority seems to be a double, and I would agree with that. It's not a really hard double, because the other stone is right on the edge of the 12-foot, so if you touch it anywhere, there's a high chance that both yellows will leave the circles. So Anna Sidorova with her last stone in this third.
Sieve!
Double.
Sieve, daar! Daar!
I stand corrected. I said you have to hit it just about anywhere, and she's hit it exactly the point that you couldn't hit it, unfortunately for the Russians. She's what we call a jam. She's jammed the back one, and now it's an open draw 4-2. So very unlucky. You couldn't do that if you tried. But that's curling sometimes. Sweeping was slightly wrong, needed either slightly more or slightly less curling, so that the back stone didn't hit directly. And that now gives Benia a relatively routine shot 4-2. She's chosen to play exactly the same draw again, which is always a good plan. Some teams would now draw the 4-foot, which is also great, but Benia just saying, look, I've just played this shot, I'm just going to play exactly the same again, because I know the weight. It's really on the upper edge, but they've swept it nicely into the ring. So a very nice 2 from Benia Bili and her Swiss team to jump into a 2-1 lead against the Russians. Switzerland leading by 2 points to 1 after 3. And with that, we'll take a quick look at the other scoreboards. So on sheet 1, I can tell you that Andrea Schöpp is playing Manuela Sigrist. We're jumping to ring 3. Okay, we have Martina Stranadova against Tiranzoni of Switzerland, and it's there tied 1-1 after 2. Silvana Tiranzoni with the hammer. Silvana we saw beating Yarkova earlier this afternoon. On rink 4 we have our featured game, 2-1 for the Swiss after 3 ends. And on rink 5, Sandra Ramstein lost this afternoon, but she's raced off to a 3-1 start, and those are all stolen points if the scoreboard is to be believed. So Sandra doing a lot better against Jacobi than she was earlier on today. And then on rinks 1, I can tell you that Andrea Schöpp is up 2-0 against Manuela Sigrist. Manuela with the hammer, of course, in that third end. And in the second, on the second sheet, we have Olga Zarkova tied at the moment 0-0 with Ursi Hegner, an up-and-coming young Swiss ladies team. So those are the results of the 5 games going on this evening in Wetzikon.
And I can tell you that in that group A, that we just saw some results, it's still wide open. We have 2 teams, Team Schöpp and Tiranzoni, both on 3 wins out of 4, followed by 3 teams with 2 wins out of 4, which is Olga Zarkova from Russia, Manuela Sigrist from Basel, Switzerland, and Martina Strandova from the Czech Republic. So still a lot open in that group, and really depending on the results of that last round robin game to decide who's going forward to the playoffs tomorrow.
And Martina's last name, Nicole, we're going to master by the end of the weekend. But 3 very good teams from Czech Republic here this weekend. Just speaking there before to Dan Raphael, who's the national coach. He might be joining us later, along with Mark in the commentary box. Dan now responsible for ladies and men's curling in the Czech Republic, and so far so good, it seems. As we see Katarina Galkina, lead player on this Russian team. Now Russia with the hammer. We'll expect, because they're pretty much on form, I would expect them to go after the Swiss now.
Yeah, the Russian team, very experienced. They have been playing already for quite a while together. Anna Sidorova joining the team a bit later. She's the youngest in the team. But as you mentioned before, with Ludmila Privikova skipping the team, they were already European champions. In the formation we see them tonight, their best result is the bronze medal also at the European Championship. That was last year in their home country in Moscow. So a nice achievement, of course, in the hometown.
Anna Sidorova playing a lot of curling. She's just 21, so she's also just out of the juniors. And when I went over to Canada in April to the Worlds, she was on the plane and she just come straight from the World Juniors. So it's almost professional curling. These ladies are traveling a heck of a lot. They're in Canada 2 or 3 times a season. Different training camps. They were over in Switzerland recently, and they do a lot of traveling. It's tough at the top, as they say. It's a pretty hard lifestyle. You're playing a lot of curling. You need to focus. You need to get concentrated every single game. There's a lot of hanging around in airports and sitting around in buses. And the other less glamorous side of the job.
Even more important that you get along well in a team. You spend a lot of time together on and off the ice. And besides all the hard work, it should also be some fun. And getting along well helps, of course.
Absolutely right. You sometimes see more of each other than you do of your partner or family. This season you might be 100 days on the road somewhere. Certainly the Russian ladies at the very top of the sport at the moment. Traveling most weekends in winter. And if not traveling, then for sure training. As we just see the Swiss a little bit unfortunate. They've rolled across the top of that Russian counter. It was a very good try by Franziska.
So that gives the chance to the Russian ladies to split the house and just play a draw to the other side.
This is a situation that you often see, and people ask why, when should I go behind the guard and when should I draw the open side? Well, the answer is fairly clear. If you go behind the corner guard, you're looking for 3. And if you draw the open side, like the Russians are doing here, you're looking for 2. And if you're looking for 3, there's a risk, of course, if things go wrong, you leave a double takeout and you don't get anything. So it's a question of strategy, a question of the score line, and also a question of how confident you are that you make the shot. Because if you can play anywhere over on the left there, you're on your way to a fairly easy 2. But going around the corner guard is a good bit tougher.
Especially when the shot is so nicely executed. Because it's important that it was quite deep in the house. They weren't allowed to leave it, for example, in the top 12 foot, because that would have given the chance to the Swiss team to aim for a double takeout or just hit and roll behind the corner guard. But like that, there wasn't a chance. The Swiss team was just left with a hidden nose on that Russian rock.
And that's a nice hit and stay by Irene Shuri. Irene Shuri, of course, from the Shuri curling family. And we have her brother alongside us this evening. He's getting his winter jacket ready because he's going to be going out in the ice in about 10 minutes to do the camera work in what I believe to be one of the coldest curling halls in the world. So good luck with that, Stefan. Wetzikon always has been, even as a player, Nicole, always a little bit chilly.
Absolutely, yeah, I can just confirm that. You're happy when you're a sweeper to play in Wetzikon. It can be a long 8 and being a skip here.
And there is Irena with her second rock in this third end, looking to nail that one again. It's not a big deal if she rolls out. She wasn't going to get shot anyway, but it just means that the next shot from Russia is just that little bit easier. Just need to draw anywhere in the red circle on the left. And things looking good for Team Russia to pick up 2 points. Russia, of course, as host nation of the Olympics in Sochi 2014. Sounds a long way away, but actually it's just 15 months off now. We're really looking forward, of course, to another great Olympics, Winter Olympics, with curling as one of the more and more popular sports at the Winter Olympics. And Russia, of course, and the ladies and the men are qualified as host nations. So pretty likely you're going to see some, or indeed all of these ladies who are on the ice tonight, taking to the ice in February 2014. And as we look, Russia have just come up a little bit short on their open draw, and it now means there's a 3.5 meter double takeout. It's not the easiest of double takeouts by any means, but the one good thing about it for Switzerland is if they touch the other blue at all, it should go this time. So if they can touch that second blue anywhere, then they should be able to limit Russia just to 1 point. So here's Binia Bili, Feltscher, with her first stone of the fourth end, trying for a double takeout, or at least a hit and a roll. Doesn't seem to like the line too much.
Okay. Она вообще туда не смотрит. Типа двойной боится. Ну, в принципе, правильно. У Люси было 68, у Риты 53. Все, наверное, 6,65 нормально будет. Может быть, 7 добавлю тоже.
So here we see Anna Sidorova.
Но это может быть.
Looking to hit this yellow stone, stay in the rings, and keep her chances for a 2 alive.
75, похож! Добавленный?
Силайн, смотрите. Кать первая. Ли немного, Кать первая.
Есть! Ти, до ти.
Ли немного.
Надо за ти.
Да, для линии, да, для линии.
За ти.
Надо.
Есть за ти.
Да. И до конца.
So that's a very nice shot from Anna Sidorova, setting up a 2 nicely for her team. No double takeout possible for the Swiss. That was the first principal activity was to get into shot position or second shot position. She's done that. And the next goal was then to try and do that without leaving a double takeout, which she's done perfectly. And a bonus would have been maybe to be slightly behind that yellow. Those were the 3 goals that Anna was probably looking for there. But she'll be really pleased with that result. And now Binia Feltscher just looking to remove this yellow. Maybe she could roll slightly left, Nicole, and if that was possible, would make the last shot for Russia that bit harder.
Absolutely. First goal is, of course, to hit and stay. He seems to curl a lot. Just overswept it. He's actually looking very good for the roll. But it just stayed that bit straighter at the end and didn't quite finish off with the curl. So that leaves Anna with a hit and stay for 2 in that fourth end.
У меня 0,3 у нее получилось сейчас.
У меня 78. Вообще больше на 0 похоже. Мне кажется, она не бьет.
So the Russians have done everything right in this end, and now they just need to finish it off with a nice clean hit and stay. And that will give them the 2 points that they set out to score in this end.
0!
Свиф, да! Не бросать, да! Надо! Воу.
Russia always been famous for a little bit of panic sweeping, and looking at the way they made that shot, you have to wonder just what the noise was all about. Other teams would be more relaxed in that situation, but they've made it perfectly, and a very good end from the Russian team, setting up 2 points and putting them back into a 3-2 lead. After 4, Switzerland with the hammer. Now, if you just joined us, we believe we have had some technical problems with sound. So if you've just joined us, just to recap, we're live from Wetzikon. This is the Curling Champions Tour, and we are in the final stages of qualification for tomorrow's playoff games. Both these teams are actually qualified for the next stage, which starts tomorrow morning at 8:30. And in the commentary box is Nicole Strauzak and Brian Gray.
And as you mentioned before, Brian, the Europeans is not far away. The European Championship in Karlstadt. We actually have 6 teams here competing in Wetzikon that are going to represent their country in Karlstadt. This is Finland's Anne Malmi. She's also in that group of our featured game. She's not qualifying for tomorrow. As we just said, Sidorova and Feltscher are already through. Then we have Andrea Schöpp from Germany. She's on 3 wins out of 4 so far, so having a good chance to qualify for tomorrow. We have the Czech Republic's team from Linda Klimova. She's with no win so far at this competition. Still looking for a win in her last round robin game later on. Then we have Italy's Diana Gaspari, doing very well here in Wetzikon. She has won all her 4 games so far and is definitely in tomorrow's quarterfinal. Switzerland will be represented by Miriam Ott's team. She's, I believe, on 3 wins so far from 3. Yeah, she has won all her 3 games so far, so also looking very good to be in the quarterfinal tomorrow. And Anna Sidorova from Russia from our featured game. So these are the 6 teams that are going to represent their country at the Europeans in Karlstadt, and of course also take that tournament as a preparation for that event.
So 3 unbeaten teams so far in this event, Nicole. It's Diana Gaspari of Italy, Miriam Ott of Switzerland, and the team we're watching right now, Anna Sidorova of Russia. Those are the 3 teams who have won all their games. So those teams are on form.
Yeah, and they're playing for quite some money here in Wetzikon. The winner is going to take home 6,000 Swiss francs. Runner-up 3,000, and the total purse is 14,000 at the CO Women's Tournament here in the Zurich Oberland. It's winter time in Switzerland. It got really cold the last 2 days. Quite chilly with a chilly wind. A tiny bit of snow outside as well. Just that you get a picture of how it is here where we are at the moment.
Yes, it was a nice journey to Wetzikon this morning. Through a very wintry looking landscape. Half of Switzerland still green, the other half now with a good bit of snow. Finally, 1st of December, of course. As we see another cracking shot from the Russian women's team. Perfect curling from Ludmila Privikova. Beautiful hidden freeze. And because we've had some sound problems, we'll just remind you one more time, we've got a little quiz going, and there's a cracking prize of a ticket for the whole week at the World Women's in Riga, in Latvia, in March. And the question once again, in case you didn't hear for technical reasons, is in which city did the Latvian women's team win their first game at a Women's World Championships. Latvia, of course, the host for the Worlds from the 16th to the 24th of March. And you have 20 minutes to send us an email. If you can answer that question, you should send an email now to live@curlingchampionstour.org, and we'll be making a draw around 7 p.m. this evening. So good luck with that. Nice prize up for grabs. But you need to send your emails in the next 19 minutes.
Riga is quite a nice and fun city as well, so worth the trip anyways. Also, besides the good curling that can be seen next April.
And the end of March, of course, is a nice time as well to visit the city. Shouldn't be too cold then. January, February, of course, will be a little bit nippy. But by March it's getting warmer, and by the end of March, the 16th and 24th, is when the championships are on. Should be good for some sightseeing and a nice weekend in that city. As we see some pretty tough curling going on. Some good shot making being made here.
7, да? 65-7.
Both teams
Рита 8, у меня 66.
pushing and putting pressure on their opponent.
Я думаю, 7 похоже на 7,65.
Я думаю, мне можно 7. Ну, чтобы мне...
Да-да.
As we see Margarita Fomina,
Вес надо!
number 2 player,
Свип!
Russian team.
Вес очень надо!
Отлично, Свип, дойдешь сюда.
Свип!
О, поменяйте.
Да, можете не меняться, свип до конца, до полной остановки, свип!
Some good Russians from the Russians.
Еще!
And they gave that a good sweep, and it's a pretty good result, I think. Bini now just indicating to
Okay.
Wenn er auf den kommen, ist wirklich da und ein bisschen überschieben.
Ich sehe da nicht viel dazwischen, gell?
Ja, das können wir halt auf die Karte. Ja. Gut so. Ja.
Okay.
Bini just discussing the options here.
Gut gespielt.
So the Swiss team is lying shot, having the hammer in that end, but a very good second angle frozen on that shot rock will make it difficult to score more than one in that end.
So
the Swiss just accidentally touching that Russian guard over. It wasn't their preferred shot, but it's also not a bad result. As we see now, Prubikova looking to raise. She's played it just perfectly. A really nice shot from Ludmila. So some excellent shot making on the ice this afternoon in Wetzikon. Both teams playing a good level of curling. And there we see another high precision shot. Angled raise takeout. And played almost perfectly.
I'm just wondering which shot I would attack now.
They're obviously going for the one on the left. They've indicated a hack length to remove that blue in the forefoot. The advantage of that one, Nicole, is that they would be in the forefoot themselves, even if they roll a little bit to the left. If they hit the other one, they wouldn't be anywhere near the 4 foot, so they wouldn't be shot. But it's a good point. Both those blues are problematic, and it looks like they're going to play a plan B, which is just to roll behind this yellow. And they've done it perfectly. That's a really good result. Now they hope for to provoke a miss from the Russian team. A miss would be to accidentally touch that yellow guard. Maybe even push it into the rings. That's what...
Absolutely. Just to bring another option in, it would have been possible also to play a hit and roll on the stone that Anna Sidorova was just touching now. The blue rock on top of the 4 foot and roll to the corner guard on the right side. Ignore the rock in the 4 foot and attack that later on in the end.
Убрать наверняка. Ходи сюда.
So the Russians would like to possibly just come in here.
Не слышу, что ты там говоришь.
Just come past that guard.
Убрать вот так?
Ты же сыграла какой-то странный ролл. Она вообще его хотела или она везла?
Be one option, they could just freeze in there. That's one option. But it looks like what they're also talking about is to come down here. And remove the yellow that way. That seems to be what they're calling, Nicole.
Yeah. That's what I tried to express before. That rock, of course, is in the control zone, in the danger zone, and can always be pushed up. So that's what she just does quite nicely. A nice race.
Her primary goal has been achieved. She's got the shot out of there.
But it leaves now the Swiss team with a nice come around behind the corner guard. Probably just T-line length. If it is a bit long, it could be frozen on the back stone. But preferably it just stays top of the T-line.
So really a big chance here for Switzerland. If they can lock that yellow onto these blues, they'll be unstoppable, and it's not a bad result. Russia can see a little bit off that yellow, but the part that they can see would push the yellow directly onto the blue. So now they have the problem how to get that out of there. One option, of course, would just be to angle freeze and just sit there, to be just in shot position. That's one option. She could also look to try and remove it. Hard to say at the moment from the ice they're giving what exactly they're trying to do.
Nice circle, Brian. Of course, it would be a blue one.
Thanks for that, Nicole. If I could change the color, I could. I would.
Пока сам как линия, вес похож.
Воу-воу. Внимание, нет.
Совсем.
Нет.
Вес сам. Нет.
So Anna Sidorova, her first rock in this fifth.
Нет, самый край идет пока, нет.
Seems to be trying to move this yellow, but it's hard to imagine where she's moving it to. It's a little bit predictable at that speed. Hard to understand. She must have been trying to almost nose and just push it straight back. As it is, now a terrific chance. So Binia would like to come down here.
Ja, ist nicht gut. Gut, dann probieren wir es so. Also, wenn es für dich gut ist. Und sonst gehen wir ja. Aber eben zu weit. Nein, das ist
She would like to hit that blue. Just come across.
Ja, mal schauen.
Oder auf die andere Seite.
Ja,
nicht nassen, wenn es geht.
Hitting the blue, coming across and maybe freezing on her own yellow, and that would make it seriously tough for Russia to avoid losing even 3 points. That's to be the call. The problem with this stone, as you know, Nicole, if it's almost good, it's leaving a fairly easy double takeout potentially. So this is a critical shot for this game.
Yeah, actually, they have been discussing that they want to roll behind the center. Binia is playing an 11. This is hawk to hawk, so just a control weight. They're working hard on it to pass the guard and to stay in the rings. It just curled a bit too much and rolling out into 4th position. Nice attempt.
So of course Russia is going to try the same shot again. Just come down. How's that, Nicole?
Very nice. Round and blue. Scottish colour, so we see.
Round and blue like Stefan Shuri is probably as we speak, out in the curling hall with the camera. Bringing these pictures to you live from Wetzikon.
Нет, поправленный.
So Anna Sidorova with her last in the 5th. Critical that she gets on top of this yellow or she's going to give up 2.
Свип! Только если вес, смотрите. Линия хорошая. Линия хорошая, только приезжай. Да-да-да.
I think it's perfect.
Oh, that's a beautiful shot. My word. I think that's pretty much where I drew the rock before, and with that she's killed any chance of 2 or 3. So that's the reason I would have tended to roll that way with Binias first. Didn't see any real reason to roll behind the centre guard. I would have tended to try and go into that pocket to prevent exactly that shot from being possible. And it's cost the Swiss dearly because they could have been looking at 3 if they'd done pretty much that shot. And now they've got to make sure that they score.
Ja, ohne wirst du 13,5.
14,5.
Gut, ja.
So Binia with her last in the 5th, drawing the 4 foot for 1 point.
Bis 4! Met 4!
Ist gleich! Fisch!
Met 4!
Fisch! Bal! Ist gut.
And here it is, nicely played. 1 rock for the Swiss team to tie the game 3-3 after 5 ends. We're really seeing a high standard game, Brian. A lot of nicely executed rocks. Quite nice situations in the house with stones in play. So that's making the webcast even more interesting, of course.
That's been a terrific game so far, Nicole. We've seen some really good rocks from all the players, and Switzerland will be kicking themselves a little bit there. They definitely had a chance to put a 3 back to Russia in reply to that last end, but unfortunately just getting our first stone wrong, Binia, and at the end playing a perfectly executed draw to score 1 point. But of course in curling you're always looking for more than 1 when you do have the hammer, the last stone advantage, last rock advantage. So but definitely we see potential in these two teams. If they continue playing like this, then we can expect a a thrilling match. And as the time comes towards 6:30, just one final reminder, you have 7 minutes left to answer our quiz question. The question again, in which city did Latvia women win their first game at a World Championships? The prize is a week ticket for the World Curling Championships in March from the 16th to the 24th of April. Riga in Latvia, the capital of Latvia, beautiful city. And if you know the answer to that question, you need to get your email in right now to live@curlingchampionstour.org. It's not an easy question. You don't have so many right answers, so if you think you know the answer, get your email in right now, and you could be off to Latvia for a week with the curling tickets all paid for. That's your prize. So good luck with that. Just 4 or 5 minutes left before we're going to close the email address and look at the answers. And if you've got any other questions or comments for Nicole Strauzak or myself, please do send us an email also to that address, live@curlingchampionstour.org. If you've got any questions about what we're watching or curling in general or any other queries, drop us an email.
So Christine is coming up with her second rock. She's a graphic and product designer, Christine, and she actually just had an outstanding result with her profession. In a highly recognized contest, she won the first prize and the so-called Wood Award. So congratulations, Christine, on that. Well done. Always nice when you can compete in sports and as well do a good job at your profession.
Восемь.
Наверное, надо. Надо! Стив! Очень надо! Рита первая!
Galkina coming up with the come around behind those two center guards.
Блин, вот зачем?
Just touching the center guard. Let's just play a bit light and remaining in front of the house as a center guard. So that gives the chance for Binia to attack the only rock in the house at the moment, aiming for a hit and roll behind the center guards. So here's Franziska. She's able to play a really solid, good takeout weight. Just over curling on that one. Unfortunately, the shooter doesn't stay in the rings. So Anna can again decide where she wants to place that next rock.
So that's once again a classic curling situation. You have the hammer. Do you want to go behind those rocks and be aggressive and go for 2 or 3? Or do you want to remove them and try and move play to the side? So they're just discussing the options.
Ну, нормально, в принципе, да. Если получится, хорошо. Там тоже подвоз закрыт, стоит ножками.
Мне нравится попробовать, Ань.
And one option would just be to come in here.
Ну, смотри сама, если хочешь, давай вести. Только потом мы уже ничего не сделаем, если что. 3 гарда уже. Но этот как бы наш, и он близкий, мы через него играть
That's one option. Just show a little bit, not too deep. The mistake some teams make, they come right into the forefoot, and then another team just freezes on them.
Там закрыто
And
нами,
then the
здесь.
whole end is looking like one for somebody, which of course if you've got the hammer is not what you want. So that's certainly one option. And the other option is to remove these 2 guards. They're also talking about that option there.
65-6. Не, 7 нет.
Double take out on those yellows, clear everything up, try and move play away from the center.
They decided for the come around.
Свип!
Дойти!
Свип!
Свип! Свип! До конца, до конца, до конца!
Молодец.
It's a very nice result.
Повалил нормально.
Вот об этом я и
That's
думаю,
where they
что
wanted
резко
it. They
повалит.
clearly swept it into the
Буду
forefoot.
протирать.
But it's a very nice result, fully hidden, of course. And now that gives Switzerland a
С этими
problem.
протираниями, девочки, не слушайте
Need to
ни
get
меня,
that
ни
out of there.
друг друга вообще, потому что берешься
Молодец,
протирать
хорошо.
и все.
If
Спасибо.
the Swiss had the hammer, you'd see
удержали.
them probably using their own guards. But because they don't, they want to keep those guards in that position, so they're going to use the blue guard instead.
Теперь я тебя
Try to
понимаю.
hit blue on blue.
Да, так резко щетку убирает, я прям не могу.
Окей,
Franziska Kaufmann just a little bit unlucky.
как шпиль.
Skip confirming it was well played, just got the sweeping slightly wrong.
Да.
And
Может, за
unfortunately
центр
for
с
her,
этой стороны?
that blue is now
Мне больше
in a very
нравится за
difficult
центр.
position to get out of there.
Даже если это будет ближний.
Ей Wetzikon надо давать много.
Мы его толкнем.
Привести ближе, чем этот, ей сложно.
So the Russians just discussing what they should do here.
Вот так как-нибудь
А
сделать.
можно с этой стороны, здесь гарды вот так стоят.
Просто если мы высоко приведем, она может повести за них. Это тогда уже не очень хорошо.
Ладно, давай за боковой.
So here are the options that the Russians have.
Тогда тиза пониже.
One option,
Конечно.
not everybody's cup of tea, would just be to come in there somewhere.
Сколько у меня там тогда было?
That's
6,
one
да?
option.
Что около того.
The other thing they're talking about is possibly just to come in here.
Кабальник, согласен.
53.
Кать, ты только ты, свип!
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 Вес нет!
Линия есть, вес, только вес!
Вес нет, девочки.
Воу!
Вес зайти сам.
Воу!
So they've gone for the first one, they've gone to draw away from the centre. The Russians have the hammer, of course. That rock needs to stop. It's a little bit careless from the Russian ladies. And the Swiss will be relieved to see that going out, because now they can really focus on this blue stone on the centre.
55.
56 мне.
They could either try and just angle freeze that blue Russian rock, or even play behind it and trying for a shot rock.
So one option would be there, Nicole, just come down and get close to that blue. That would certainly be one. And the other option I think they're looking at is to run the guard back. And as I mentioned before, Nicole, I would expect a team to do that with the hammer,
А ты хотел гарду
but I
снимать.
don't think it's a good idea at all without the hammer, because now all the guards have moved to the side. And although it looks pretty harmless at the moment, I think Russia could easily now score 2 or 3 points.
Дойти надо, да?
So that for me is a
Я думаю, что
dangerous
да.
call.
Ты щетку держишь?
You've opened up the centre,
Совсем
and now Russia can come around these corner guards and really put the pressure on.
Нормально,
Главное, чтобы
загар,
двойной гард.
дойти.
Она же ролл сделает тогда, нет?
Нормально дойти загар просто.
Ну, дойти как бы параллельно, если, то это уже как бы так себе.
Just like
Если
to
чуть
come there.
ниже, это уже двойной. Главное, что двойной
Лучше
не
она
было.
сделает
Либо
двойной
самое
от этого к
начало
тому,
тогда,
чем
либо
от
мы
центрального,
низко,
правильно
ниже
же?
его сюда.
So she wants to stay
Девочки.
higher in the
Дойти.
rings than the open
Ты хочешь
rock on the center line.
Дойти, конечно.
Again, the reason why she would like to
67.
do that is to
Да.
trying to avoid a possible double takeout for the Swiss team.
Absolutely. So either top of the 12-foot here, or it could also be right to the back to make the double as hard as possible. Just not the T-line. T-line here is not particularly useful, because as you said, Nicole, it's setting up a double for the Swiss. Seems to be very close. Very nice line from Ludmilla. Has to bite, and she's played that really nice. Again, that's pretty much where my circle was before. She's played that perfectly. There is a slight hint of a double there. It's just open enough. But Switzerland opting for the other hit and roll behind the corner guards. So good shots coming thick and fast now, almost one after the other. You see Ray and Shuri looking to remove this blue counter and roll behind the bunch. And that's a beautiful shot by Irene. It's just going to stay in. No, it's not. It's going to be in second position, so she'll be a little bit disappointed, a little bit unlucky. Anna Sidorova just indicating blue is shot, so now they're going to draw to the open side. So Russia said a couple of moments ago, possibly 3. Now from this situation, 2 is more likely, because that blue's kind of blocking things a little bit. Hard to get 2 blues around those corner guards because the blue's a little bit high and open. But still very much on track for 2. And at this level, you've got to be happy with 2. If you get more, it's a bonus. But once again, Russia struggling a little bit with the draw weight. And unfortunately for them, the yellow is better. So, what do we do now?
Different options again. She could actually raise her yellow corner guard onto the blue shot rock.
So Bina just discussing. One option, of course, would be to try and chip this. It's going to be really close to that yellow, but it's makeable. By the ice she's giving Nicole, looks like she's playing this one. From the ice she's taking, that's what it looks like. Sidorova-Feltscher with her first stone in this 6th.
75. Achtung. Ja, nummer 3. Ja.
Ziel
Warte met kijk, warte. 8-4. Oh, warte. Oh.
10.
Achtung. 8-4. Ja. Ja. It's alles.
Doesn't want to touch the blue, but she's done it really nicely. That's a tough shot, very well played. But does it save 2 or 3? I'm not too sure.
0, 9. 2?
Каким весом?
2.
So Russia just kind of come down here now and chip that yellow out. And if she can, just stop there. Sidorova with a key shot here.
Нет.
Очень надо.
Кать, очень надо протирать. Очень надо. Очень надо. Протирай, очень надо.
A little bit faster than I think she
Очень.
wanted to be. Is this going to stay in the rings?
No, it isn't.
Normaal. Wir sind also ein bisschen früher erwischt, dass da hinten ist, oder? Dass sie den Muss drauf liegt. Wir haben das gleiche Eis.
So Binia is aiming for the same shot, maybe just a bit further back in the house, back 8 foot, just to have that extra length to at least bury half behind the blue shot rock. That would be the optimal result.
Basically, from this situation, Bini is probably accepting that it's going to be 2. As I said earlier in the end, with that double clearing on the centre guard, it was always going to be an end for Russia. So she's probably in the back of her mind accepting 2, but if she knows if she makes a good crack at this, and gets it fully hidden, she can make the 2 as hard as possible for Anna Sidorova with her last. They're sweeping it for line, try and finish it off. And as you've indicated, Nicole, right to the back of the 8 foot was what they were trying.
The weight was perfect, just didn't curl enough to bury behind the blue rock. So it's fairly open. Anna can just play a hit and stick for 2 in that 6th end to take up a lead of 2 rocks.
So Anna Sidorova, last stone in the 6th, hit and stay for 2 points.
Свив! Свив, да-да-да! Свив, да! Да-да-да-да-да!
No panic this time, so it looks to be business as usual. And she's played it perfectly, so a very nice, solid hit and stay by Anna, setting up her team now for 2 points to go into a 5-3 lead. And after 6 ends, we'll take the opportunity to look at the scores on the other sheets. I can tell you on rink 1, we have Andrea Schipp of Germany against Manuela Sigrist, and as you can see there, Manuela Sigrist with the yellow rocks has picked up a very nice 3 in the 6th to jump ahead of Andrea Schipp. That's 4-3 after 6, Germany with the hammer. And on sheet 2 we have Zharkova of Russia against Hegner of Switzerland, and Zharkova showing her experience there. Olga is leading the Swiss 4 points to 1 with the hammer after 5. And then on sheet 3 we have Czech Republic playing against Switzerland, and we have the score there is 8 points to 2. Silvana Tiranzoni picking up 6 in the 4th, and a further steal, and really giving that young Czech team a tough time on rink 3. On rink 4, our featured game, as we saw a very nice 2 from Russia after maybe a slightly tactical error on that double clearing of the centre guard, allowing Russia to pick up 2 and slip into a 5-3 lead. And then on rink 5 we've got Juliane Jacobi of Germany against Sandra Ramstein, and a big steal of 4 in the 5th, Nicole. Germany racing to a 6-3 lead against the Swiss. And rink 6, there's no games going on today, so tonight. So those are the games going on. As we said before, these are all group stage games, all qualifying for tomorrow's quarterfinal at 8:30.
So back to our featured game. Team Sidorova from Russia against Team Feltscher from Switzerland. Both teams have already qualified with the results of the previous games. Both teams will be playing in the playoffs tomorrow. But still we see a really nice game between the two teams, playing a lot of nice shots. And both fighting for the win. So in this 7th end, Team Feltscher again with the hammer. Being 2 down, the goal really needs to be to try for 2 in this end. Christine coming up with Come around in the 8 foot behind the center guard.
Zwei! Kommen, warten! Noch 2! Dann warten!
Bis 12. Geht's?
Okay, fest! Fest! Kommt der Bub! Noch ein bisschen! Gut.
Working hard on the stone and just making it a biter.
Даже если мы его уберем, она привезет лучше за него. Мне кажется, нужно самим сюда.
Да.
Что здесь делать? Здесь чуть похуже или так же?
На 6, я думаю, здесь 65.
So Margarita Fomina trying to do the same from the other side with an in-turn.
Sweep, Linia, sweep! Sweep! Sweep, да,
Team without the hammer likes to have the rocks in the 4 foot.
Sweep! Sweep, Linia, отлично, да! Sweep! Sweep, девочки, да, еще,
So
не
they're
бросай,
bringing
не
it
бросай,
all the way down.
надо.
Really nice weight from Margarita,
10 noch dazwischen, ja.
So ein bisschen tappen, oder? Immer so!
but staying open, which gives the chance
Klein!
Okay.
Ja!
for Franzi now to push that stone straight back and maybe even roll a bit to the inside. Just with a good backline weight.
Schneller!
Achtung!
Zieh!
Ja.
Back!
First
Zieh!
hier.
Fest!
Bitte!
Fest! Fest, kommen! Zieh!
Just passing the guard really nicely.
Noch ein! Deine!
Another blistering shot. Franziska Kaufmann
Еще раз можно, мне кажется.
playing
Еще
a
раз.
very nice little tap back. Rolling nicely behind the centre guards. Millimetre perfect past that centre guard.
A really nice team shot.
We said the replay, you see it's probably just about two centimetres maybe from the centre guard.
And you see how much he curls after the guard. Really
been
nice
treated.
swept and judged by the team.
Sweep!
We've really treated some very nice curling now. Both teams clearly in the zone. As we see Margarita Fomina, two of the Russian team, trying to follow what Franziska Kaufmann just did with her shot. She's a little bit shorter, but the line is also pretty good. But it's just going to come up short. Not a disaster. Russia don't have the hammer, so anything in front of the tee line in that control zone can be used later.
Question is now, what is Team Feltscher playing now? A come around in the 8 foot, I wouldn't mind, just to block off a possible race for the Russian team.
Und nachher legen wir wieder hinter der Tee, oder?
So lots of variations here, as you know, Nicole.
Da ist er gut und da ist er gut.
One would be just to come in where she's indicated, maybe somewhere here. Doesn't really matter about being third shot right now. It's more important to get the right line. So that would be one option. Even if it's not as good as the blue, it's not going to be there very long. Somebody's going to remove it anyway. That's one option. Other option would be a guard, but I wouldn't recommend that. They have the hammer, so they are going for full 8 foot, like we indicated. Another option would be to remove the blue and just roll away. Lie 4 points that way. Maybe a little bit defensive at this stage. Both teams playing so well.
En knapp.
3! 4, 5. Hey!
Ja.
Fest, richtig! 2, 3!
First hier.
Wo ist er? 2! 12, 8!
Noch ein.
12!
Bitte.
12 bis 8! Er hat noch Platz!
Noch mal Länge.
Warte, Carla. Ui. Ja, noch hin. Noch hin. Nein, sorry.
Unfortunately, just coming in too deep. That rock doesn't help. in the back 8 foot there, even though the Swiss team is lying with 3 shots. Just gives the opportunity to the Russian team to follow that path and play in a better draw. Just fully in the 4 foot would be great. And because there is a pocket in the back rings, it would make it difficult to remove that rocks. But also the Russians are just coming in too deep.
Maybe overcorrecting a bit from the stone before, Nicole. It's okay to be short sometimes, but you can't be short all the time. Sometimes you've got to be in there, so they've maybe just overcorrected a little bit. From what I understand from talking to some of the players, the weight's not so easy. And now Switzerland have another chance to do perhaps what they should have done a little bit better the last time round. If they can just get their rock in there, they're looking very good for 2, possibly even 3. So they don't want to be too deep this time. They've made the mistake once, now they have to correct.
Exactly.
Sweepers immediately calling 3, which means T-line area, so it's probably a little bit longer than it should be. Now they've changed their call to 2, so it is shorter. And this is important now. If she can get into the 8 foot. But their calling was way off there. The teams do seem to be struggling a little bit with the length. When it was thrown, they called T-line, and as we can see, it's 4 meters short of that. Maybe even 5 meters short of that. So teams getting a little bit confused by the length of the ice.
We saw that already in some other games, that the length can vary quite a lot depending on the line you play. And we also saw some changes in the weight during the game, so teams need to be really focused on that and switched on and really watch the ice and do a lot of split times and following also the stones of the opponents, just to always be sharp on knowing the weight that needs to be played on the different lines.
So Russia with a difficult situation here. If they just missed that yellow guard, they would come pretty much to the situation that I indicated before, just to the edge of the button. They wouldn't be shot, but they might be second. Other option is to run the blue back. They would like to do something like this. That's their dream shot, if they can pull that off. But it's tough. Through that hole, missed both the yellow and the blue by 1 or 2 centimeters. So now Ludmila Privikova with a key shot in this end. This could turn things around for Russia. Just a little bit late in the sweeping and just making it worse. So Switzerland still lying 2. So now the question, where should Switzerland go? I would suggest, again, as we talked about earlier this morning, show half-half, which means show half of the yellow on the button and half the yellow that you're throwing. And like that, it means any fast stone coming towards those yellows will move off to the left and can't possibly be in shot position. That would be the ideal position for Irene Shuri with her second stone in this 6th end.
And it's not an easy shot. There's almost no missing on the right side because you can't be short on that one. You don't really want to put on a center guard. You want to be in the rings with that rock, having the hammer.
And Irena looked around in shock just after she let go of that rock. It looks like it took some dirt. And the result is not good, unfortunately, for her.
Very unlucky here in that critical stage of this end. Now the shot rock, of course, is open.
So it's a tough call. Maybe the wiser plan might be just to come to that rock and just freeze there. Because right now she could easily lose 2 or 3. And if she can play that, or even just move it a little like she's indicating. She would like to come onto that yellow and just perhaps move it back to there. She won't be shot, but you have to be patient in curling and do things in steps, and that would be a very nice result if she could do that. It would give her a chance then to be shot with her last. But it's not easy in there. What she mustn't do is bounce open. She mustn't hit that yellow and roll open. Otherwise she's going to easily give up 2 or 3.
It's quite a brave call, I think.
I think the clever skip here is going to play a down weight. She's not going to try and move anything. Just want to try and freeze or lock onto the yellow. And if you get the angle right, maybe just nudge the yellow back a bit like I've drawn. Well, she's going the other way.
Давай с 8. Везем. Здесь можем в лучшем случае сделать -1. Это в лучшем случае. -1 у нас будет свой сверху, не так плохо, но если вдруг я делаю...
Looks like the call would be to come in there and try and make it as hard as possible for Switzerland to score more than 1 point. Should of course be blue, as I think Nicole's about to point out.
Quite exciting here.
A lot of rocks in play here.
And the outcome is really not clear yet in that end. It could go either way. I think it's quite a brave call to draw an in-turn draw here in that situation.
So Anna Sidorova with her first. Interesting foot position there.
4 полностью. 4 полностью. Свип.
Линия только!
Рита, протирай. Рит, протирай. Нет.
Sounds to be just a little bit long. Line is very nice, but needs to stop.
Нет. Кать, попробуй. Да.
And as they say, what a show. It's not a bad result at all. Of course, we'd like to have been shorter in front of the line, but almost fully in the 4-foot makes it just that little bit harder for Switzerland to score their 2. And Binia now would like, obviously, she would like to come into here with her first. Doesn't want to move the blue, just be in front of it somewhere, and that will make it really hard for Russia not to lose 2 points. And who knows, there's still a small chance of 3. But good to see. Lots of rocks in play, that's what we like to see as a spectator. A lot of good rocks in play, a lot of good accurate draws going on in this game. Both teams very much performing at a good level and making it very entertaining to watch. So Sidorova-Feltscher with our first.
4.
Sensing a 3, if she can just play this nicely in the 4-foot. And that's a pretty disappointing result, Nicole.
Too bad, just staying short of the rings. Even with the sweeping, they couldn't take it into the ring, so this leaves Anna Sidorova now with the shot that probably many teams would have played already with her first rock. To tap the shot rock into the back rings and, if possible, roll in behind the center guard.
So I think it's fair to say this is a key shot of the game. If she can make this, she'll lie 2 both in the 4-foot, and a steal of 2 here would be game decisive, I think. If she doesn't get the angles right, she could easily give up 2 or 3, so this could be a swing of 4 or 5 stones right here with one rock. Anna Sidorova, last stone of her team at the 7th end.
Нет!
Does not want to be wide and light, wide and heavy, that's for sure.
Протирай, до конца протирай.
And she's done it. She's lying 2, and that's a terrific result. Very nicely done. And she sees herself, she's lying 2 points, so no chance of more than 1 now for the Swiss. And there we see a classic end where game is pulled into the centre deliberately by the team without the hammer. And it then makes getting more than 1 point very tough. And that's why Russia will be very happy with that end, because they've almost certainly kept Switzerland down to a point. And there's a high chance of a steal as well.
Not easy to find a way into the 4-foot to score 1.
Looking just to come in here. Easy to draw, of course.
Мне кажется, 1. Я не смотрела.
Это лучше из того, что мы могли сделать из этого энда.
In that direction there.
Он вообще какой-то странный. Он уже второй раз, ну, может быть, 10-й, я просто
Not clear today if they're looking at pushing that yellow or trying to come past.
У него странная часть. Что это было?
Ни одного не... ладно, одно было.
Ну, куда это? Она более-менее из них кто что-то делал вообще.
So now we see a little bit clearer what's going on. They would like to do...
У меня так не сложилось у меня. Нет, у меня так не сложилось.
Would like to push that yellow. You want to hit the outside edge. Push that yellow. Probably rub the blue as they go. It wouldn't hurt Nicole. It's all going towards the button, the dolly. So this is about as hard as it gets. The shot needs to be... to be fair, there's a little bit of flexibility on which stone you hit. You can either just rub the blue on the top, so it might come down to this area. Might just graze off that blue on the way in.
Absolutely.
Or you could come directly onto the blue on the back. So there's different options.
And get shot like that.
Either way, getting 1 shot. You could, of course, you could play a little bit faster, and you might even get 2. And she is playing fast. Interesting. She's playing more than just a tap. Seems to have taken off on her. Sounds very good. Oh, that was very exciting.
Oh, that was unlucky.
Just missed it by a millimeter.
That was very unlucky.
But I think she's maybe just squeeze shot. Russian player appeared to indicate that the yellow was first. But that was a terrific end of curling. I think we can put that down as one
and
of
maybe
the
we
better
can
ends.
see that rock again, because there really was the chance there for the double, which would have given the opportunity to score more than 1, actually.
So it needed a little bit more sweeping. Just rub the blue there, and then she would have got 3 or 4. So that's what she was trying.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, well, good for Binia that she was brave enough to play that shot a little bit faster. And if she's come away with a point, she can be very happy. But you can see just millimetre there would have picked the blue, the other blue, and she would have ended up with a bunch. So very nice end of curling from these two teams. And that's top curling.
So, coming home, last end, 8th end of that last round robin game. Binia having to start the end, being one down. 5-4 for Team Russia, Alma Sidorova. So Binia has a clear end plan, going full out for a steal. Probably aiming for 2 center guards as far apart as possible. And starting with the long guard, which is a very good choice in my view.
Absolutely, very nice start to the end. Russia will now try to soft peel. The rule, of course, is they can move the stone anywhere in play, including out the back of the rings and the corners, but not completely out of play. So they play like a hack length, try to move the yellow away from the centre line, roll away, and that keeps the centre open for the team with the hammer. And there we see Katerina Galkina being asked to play exactly that.
45 у меня.
And I can see, Brian, that you are getting a bit excited. I don't know if you have something to announce.
We do. Time is running out, Nicole. So it's the time to mention we did have a quiz this morning's game, and also this evening we had a quiz question. As we know, the Latvian Curling Association are organising, along with the World Federation, the Worlds in Riga in March. And the Worlds in that Baltic region. It's the first time that the World Team Championships will be played there. And of course, we're all very excited. And there was a question to win a weekly ticket for the World Curling Championships in Riga in March. And we have a winner. The question was in which city Latvia won their first game at a World Women's Curling Championships. The answer was Swift Current in Saskatchewan in 2010. And the winner, a lady I know quite well, a lady in Canada, it's Bernice Merrick from Calgary, Alberta. Congratulations, Bernice. You've just won yourself a ticket for the whole week in Riga, 15 different games. You know the score, I think, so hope to see you in Riga in March. We'll keep those tickets for you in Riga, so if you come, we'll lay them out for you. And congratulations on winning that prize. That was drawn, by the way, by our newcomer to the scene, Mark Stehley, who did the draw just about 20 minutes ago. So I can confirm it was all done above board, and very pleased for you, Bernice, that you're the winner of our competition. So thanks for all the interest, and back to this very exciting game as we reach the climax of this 8th end.
3, 48. Richtig gut. Heeft dat gelukt? 12-8.
So what's the strategy here? Well, Switzerland with yellow, one down without the hammer. They need to make as much pressure on the centre line as possible. They don't care if they lose 5 or 6 here. They'll leave everything in play and they'll try and get as many rocks into that centre zone as possible.
So some nice stones have been played. Nice centre guard from the Swiss team, then a perfect take shot from the Russian team, pushing that yellow centre guard all the way back to the back rings, back 12 foot. Then the Swiss team drawing around, being nicely buried behind the centre guard. A bit later in the end. So now it's time for some clearing. Second stones rocks are being played already. And the Swiss team now going to defend their shot rock.
Mitte finde ich schon gut.
So here we are back live, and Switzerland with a pretty good centre guard. They've guarded the area between the centre line and that rock, which is always pretty good. And Russia now trying for the run back. Double takeout, yellow on yellow.
Speed!
Fomina. Number 2 for Russia. The Russians know if they make any of these run backs, they've probably won the game. And that's a beauty. She's got all 3. Oh, fantastic shot by Margarita, though. And the blue, of course, still functioning as a centre guard, but Russia will be very happy to change colour with that guard, and of course also pick the shot off the back. And that was just a terrific shot by the Russian number 2.
Well played. The good thing for the Swiss team, the shooter remains as a centre guard. As you said, it's now a blue collar, but that doesn't matter so much at that point. The Swiss team is trying to draw behind and fully bury in the forefoot or even top dolly.
But Irene Shuri replying as good curlers do with a very nice shot, fully in that 1 foot circle, keeping our team's hopes alive in this 8th and normally final end. And now Ludmila would like to do something similar to what Margarita Fomina did just 1 minute before, and this time with her own coloured stone would then lie in shot position if it happened to stay around. So a chance to really put the pressure on the Swiss, but opting just for the straight clear, which is probably a good idea too. And now Switzerland just have to keep guarding that. Who's your money on, Nicole?
Well, of course, for the Swiss team, a steal would be to go into the extra end and not for the win. So, because the shot rock is behind the T-line, I think Team Russia still has the better chance here in that last end. Also, there are still 3 more rocks from the Swiss team playing guards that need to be perfect.
Irene Shuri, of course, world mixed doubles champ on 2 occasions.
Back to back.
Back to back with Tony Muller. And they're just coming to the rings. Doubles that little bit easier. Double takeouts are made harder by distance. And the distance between those 2 rocks is about 1.5 meters, 1.6 meters. It's just a little bit close. These girls can play these doubles. Could get all 3 even. So Ludmila being asked to hit the right-hand side of the yellow as we look. Go across the top of the other yellow in the forefoot and remove all 3 yellows. Seems to have been played a little bit wide. But she's got it, more or less. Very nice shot by Ludmila. Very accurate hitting by the Russians.
And even more important, of course, the shooter now rolls to the side of the top 12 foot, leaving the center wide open for the last rock of Anna Sidorova. Binia now has to draw behind that so-called corner guard, even though it is in the rings, it is and can be used as a guard for the Swiss team. So the goal is to fully draw behind, even if it's a bit behind the T-line, it wouldn't be a disaster. Important is to be fully covered.
And as we see from the overhead, I would go for blue at the moment to be in shot position. It's in any case just to get on the back of that blue. But she'll know now, on the basis of that very nice double takeout, it's an uphill struggle for the Swiss at the moment, but she's played that pretty well. It's not hidden. But at least if Russia would then nose that shot, Switzerland would have some sort of freeze. So Russia need to roll out here.
Две.
It's very important for Russia to not stay in that position there. They need to roll away. They don't want to. If they nose that yellow, it gives Switzerland a perfect opportunity to freeze in the forefoot. So it's very important to just hit this and roll away, assuming that blue is better at the front.
Very smooth delivery of Anna Sidorova.
Perfectly played, but like I mentioned before, now Switzerland have a golden chance.
Where Irene Shori's broom was. That's the spot they're looking for. Just in front of the tee line, a bit inside of that rock.
Doesn't have to be a freeze in my view, Nicole.
No.
Just has to be...
just sitting on the tee line.
Could even be there somewhere. I can get this. Can't believe she's removing it. Don't see any point in that at all. I think she should use that blue to her advantage. She's talking about hack length, but in my view, that's a much tougher situation if you leave that there. Could be closer, of course, but the most important thing is be clearly shot. Take the draw away, try and tempt the other team into playing a takeout. But I don't see any reason to play hack here. If there was a timeout now, what would Nicole Strauss be telling them?
What else should I say after your nice drawing, Brian? I really would have also preferred that draw to the tee line, of course.
I understand a little why she's done that. She wanted to be absolutely sure she was shot.
And that Anna has to
that
play
she has to play something.
Her last rock.
But unfortunately at this level that just doesn't, that one doesn't work. It's but of course she is right. You have to be shot, otherwise it's shake hands. But it's a little bit defensive. I have more confidence in Binia than that. I'm fairly sure she could have come down, played a reasonable freeze and given Anna a much harder shot than this.
Yeah, maybe the thought was also to roll behind the corner guard, of course, and give Anna a draw with her last one. But like that she can just play the same rock, and here is the last rock of that 8th end. Coming down nicely and being good enough for the win. Score of 1 or even 2, but it doesn't matter in the last end. And a win for Team Sidorova. They have actually won all their round-robin games.
Correct.
Team Feltscher staying on 2 wins out of 4. But nevertheless, Team Feltscher is going to move forward to the quarterfinals tomorrow. So we see both teams again in action tomorrow on the ice at 8:30.
So congratulations to the Russian team. We're just going to update the scores on the other sheets. I can tell you that on rink 1, Manuela Sigrist